Hi guys, welcome to another Level Up Chat with Wilson. Solomon, always good to see your wonderful digital emoji faces. That sounds really different. Man, it has been a while since I have done one of these. I'm not gonna lie. I can't even remember when the last time I did it. I think it was like start of July. So, it's been a month. Yeah, we're crazy. But I hope you've been having a good time. I know we had a little bit of time yesterday, getting to do gaming with Tom for a little bit, and that impromptu jump up. That was a good time, man. Lots of good stuff. Um, yeah, I hope you've been having a good summer. I hope that your summer has been so far decent. We are in the middle of it, or if you are stateside watching, summer coming to an end and like school starting up. That still messes me up. I love you guys in the south, but your schedule messes me up. But also, you guys are probably like, you guys in the north are really weird too. But like, that's anyone that's from a different place, right? Like I'm sure Solomon's looking at me being like, Wilson, what? And so like, just different cultures, different timings, different things. Um, yeah, yeah, man. I hope that you guys have been doing well, that you've been getting a little bit of rest if you do have some chill time, and if you haven't, man, I really do pray for that. I'll give you a small brief update on how things have been because you guys deserve to hear what the heck's been going on, and the craziness. Here, let me turn off this fan first because like it's nice and cool. It's keeping me nice and cool, but man, it's too noisy. So I'll be right back. One moment. Huh. There we go. A lot better. Yes, remember to hydrate. That is why I've got this. We actually got this for free, so that was kind of awesome. Coach is awesome at hunting deals for our family and helping us out a lot. Um, I am blessed to have an awesome wife that's been be able to help out in different ways. Yeah. So first off, I'll just do a follow up. So I was on vacay for 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, I got to go to a cabin with just me and Coach. That was awesome. It was fun. Man, I never read so much. Well, I can't say never, but like I have not binged hard reading comics and mangas in a long time. And like I did that very hard all throughout that 1 week because the reason why I could do that is my kids got to go to Jamaica, which was a huge blessing. They had a blast with their Aunt Laura, being able to do that. Oh man, they came back more tan than I was, so that was kind of crazy. And I'm like the one who tans the easiest and usually is the most vibrant for tans in our family. So that is speaking on something that's kind of crazy. Yeah, we got to hang out and hear their stories. Man, like they got to just experience a ton of things. And so like I'll say this here, and if she ever watches our YouTube stuff like that, Auntie Laura, thank you. We call her Auntie Laura. Auntie Laura, thank you so much for just taking our kids and investing in them. Like that is a big deal for us. The kids absolutely love the time with you and being able to hang out with you. It is just golden. Man, yeah. They may not say it, but we say it as parents. I know we've said this different times, but still. I also want to thank one of our partners in ministry since I came into this area in like back 2013 when I was a young dude. Shirley Gurns, who like she'd be like, "Oh, I don't need recognition." This woman needs recognition. She is an amazing woman who has just a heart that is there for people, investing in people, loving on people. She's the first one to be willing to help out and invest, or just like, how can I be, how can I be helping? And like it's back and forth. It's awesome. She's known us. She helped us move into our first apartment here in the area, and so what I'm thanking her for, because I'm giving you a whole bunch of backstory. So you know me, I like context and backstory. So deal with it. But um, she let us borrow her cabin at a camp that was up around Silver Lake. Wesleyan Silver Lake is actually, or Silver Lake Wesleyan Camp is where it's at. And legit, me and Coach literally we chilled at the cabin, and like we just read, we just hung out. I got to board game with my wife, which I haven't done in like ages, like since her kids have been around. Yeah, I know. Like some of you board gamers are like, dude, how do you even live? Like it's weird because we used to do board gaming a fair bit, and that was our main way of connecting with people. Was just like, yo, you want to come over and board game? Yeah, we got to do that. I got to read a ton of comic books, like Hokey Snap, which one series we're going to be talking about today in connection to our discussion. And if you're an X-Men fan, you're going to want to stay tuned because this is an old one. Like this is back 3 years ago that this series came out, and ever since it came out, oh man, I fell in love with it. It's just such a cool thought, concept, you name it. And anywho, so I binge read a ton of X-Men, loved it. I binged a ton of Nightwing because gotta rep my boy. Some Batman, actually some really good Elseworld Batman, which I've been really enjoying. Read some Black Clover. I read all my Black Clover mangas. So Tom, you'll be happy about that. And all my Demon Slayer ones as well. You have you read Chip Zdarsky's latest Daredevil stuff? No, I have not, my man. I need to actually do that. I need to read that up pretty hardcore. Daredevil stuff has been fantastic more recently. I just need to catch up. There's been just so much that I am catching up as a personal nerd. And of course, budget is always the thing. And so now that I've got like comic subscription, it's now times the thing. So that's what we're working on, and we're potentially looking at down the road. I'm not saying when exactly, or if it's soon or later or anything like that. I gotta lay that out there. Sometime down the road, we are looking at potentially creating a catalog of comic books we would recommend reading, checking out, and even some like themes that come along with it, like that you read, and some biblical texts and where you might find connections in that, or like to the theme or to key moments or stuff like that. So keep your eyes peeled for that sometime down the line. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It kind of came back to the grassroots of why we even started this whole thing, how Graphic Word really was started with two nerds, me and my college buddy, both at Emmanuel Bible College, and we just nerded out, and we just saw a lot of cool biblical things, and we would just like nerd out over that, and yeah, we both kind of created this group, and then like I kind of just went with it a bit more, and he's been a part of different things with Graphic Word. He's actually been a part of our Walk to Mordor crew. Yeah, so like it's kind of cool, but yeah, so tons of comic book reading. Got to hang out with my folks, did some more comic book reading. Got to celebrate with my mom on no more chemotherapy needed. She had her last shot like four weeks ago, I think it was, or something like that. So yeah, we did a major celebration for her for that. That was really cool. And connecting with family there. We also got to do Masterpiece Arts Camp. I got to do the teaching part of it, so I got to nerd out and talking about biblical stuff, which was really cool. It was weird because it was a program, so like they have like set teaching things that they're trying to like introduce to youth throughout, or to kids throughout the camp, and I just kind of follow along, took what key things I thought were really good or I could really sit on for a while, and I just like highlighted some stuff and said, hey, like here are the things. And I love it because I get to nerd out over the Bible, just over the Bible itself. But then I definitely made some references to various nerdy or pop culture references, and it was cool seeing some of the kids be like, "Oh, I get it," and it's like, cool, sweet. So future GW nerd crew, we don't know. We'll have to see. The invitation's out there for when they're older. Um, but in all honesty, like it's just been busy, and like last week was camp, so I got to be leading the camp at Stainer, which is actually it's run by a denomination, the EMCC, Evangelical Missionary Church of Canada. Just so you know, and you're not like, Wilson, what the heck are you doing? That's the church that we grew up in, and it was really cool for me, coach, and the kids to be able to go there. Kids got a lot more independent, which was really different as opposed to last year. We were just kind of feeling out the situation there, so that was kind of cool. And then just it was really cool getting an opportunity to share about what we do, because like legitimately I got to highlight a period of time just on what the heck we do here, and got to do like a brief sermon for like 25-ish minutes. I actually probably went to 33 minutes. Awkward. I'm not a long talker. I don't know what you guys don't know. Long talker. No, like I can run on if you give me an opportunity. But it was really good because not for the sake of like self promotion. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't like self promoting. I think it's like such a punk thing to do. And I'm not saying that to say that and be like, oh, well, self promotion, and then like he's self promoting while saying he doesn't like self promoting. No, like I'm a guy that wants to show you what it's about directly. Like I want you to be able to have a hands on thing, to be able to see it and understand it that way. I'd rather show that to you. That's just my nature of doing that. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but like that's just how I run. And so being able to just share some of the things that we've been seeing and how we've been growing as a community, and our goal is to be a community and investing in each other and doing all this growth and development. But it was really cool talking to, like, most of the people that heard this were what we would call the gray hairs, right? Like they're the ones that are typically a little bit older, and that's awesome because a lot of them have some hearts that just are like, we don't understand nerd culture, we don't know what it's like, and it's not of concern. They just want to know. They want a safe spot for crew like you, who may be watching this, and maybe you feel like you just don't fit in because you're too nerdy. Awesome. That's what our community is all about. And like that's almost like our mantra is like, if you think you're too nerdy, you just need to hang out with other nerds, and you just need to find out what we nerd about, and let's nerd out together, and obviously talk about Jesus. That's our thing. And so it's just it was really cool hearing the hearts of these grandparents, hearing some of the heartbreak that they've been feeling, just feeling like we don't know how to connect with them on this level, and just talking on some like ways to connect with their youth crew in nerdom, and like just even like asking good questions, because nerds love it when you ask questions, because if it's something about we care about, yo, we won't shut up. And that is proof that like this guy doesn't know how to shut up. And like that's the thing. It's just awesome. And so like let them share their heart, let them share why they're into this, what's the thing, because typically us nerds have thought about it long enough that it's not just only because it's cool. There's clearly that, but also there's the like, man, there's something about this that really connects to me, or like I wish I could be like that. And so that's why I do that. And yeah, it's just been really cool. I can't say that enough. I've been saying cool a lot. So that was last week, even to the point of like Monday morning, just like being able to talk and being able to connect with some of our guys, Jedi and Ninja. I got to see them at camp. Same with Silver and and World 2. Those gents that are on our Discord community. And yes, Solomon, thank you for throwing it out there. Join the Discord. You get to meet these awesome guys. You get to hang out with them, and nerd out with them too. Same with guys like Solomon too. But it was good just chatting and remembering just a good reminder of like, why the heck do we do this? And it sounds like really weird. Like, did you forget why you do things? It's like, no, like, it's a good refresher, because sometimes you need that refreshing moment of just like, we are doing something that I dreamed about. We are doing something that I get to, yes, call a job, but now has an impact of not just me running my mouth and hoping somebody hears, but like people who are feeling that same way, who may feel isolated, who feel lonely or outcasted because of their nerdom, or they have these thoughts and working through things, and they feel like they have no one to share that with. And now they do if they join our community. Like that to me is so cool. And being able to say that I get to be a part of something like that. I don't care if I don't care about founding. I don't care about lead. I just being a part of that. I always wanted that as a youth, and I get to say we get to do that. One last thing, and then I promise we'll get to our chat. I'm sorry, I'm like dragging this on. Like one really cool thing that happened last night. We were doing what's in your anime, and we were running on. We were doing conversations, random stuff like that, and really trying to figure out what kind of anime were we gonna watch, because we all have different opinions on what we like and stuff like that. But also trying to make sure anyone who hops in, it's not going to be like all of a sudden there's blood and gore and stuff like that, right? Like, because that's typical Japanese, like that's typical anime. That you'll just have a random moment when someone comes in and it's just like, oh, what is this horrible thing? And it's just like, oh no, let me explain context, everything. Yeah, it's a fun follow-up conversation. Anyway, so we watched 2 episodes of Ranking of Kings, which, oh my Lanta, such a simple anime, but so good. And it leads you very well. You want to watch more. Like, we watched the first 2 episodes. I'm like, yeah, I need to see how this keeps on going. Like, because this dude, this is a different kind of circumstance. And I appreciated Silver's one comment on how it just reminded him, it's a very almost theologically focused kind of anime. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I hadn't really watched it, so I was intrigued to like where his opinions were on that. And what he threw down was like right on the mark. I'm not going to say it all I'm not going to say it because you guys need to watch it. And maybe if you're like, Wilson, I don't see it, let's have a conversation in Discord. Let's hit it up, because that's what we're here for. And I'm more than willing to have that conversation. Maybe I'll link Silver to it too, and he can just like go nuts on that conversation with you. But that floored me that other people are getting in on it and actually doing that, and it's not just Wilson running his mouth. It just floored me. Anywho, so today's topic, we are going to talk about X-Men. Yeah, that's right, X-Men, because X-Men are cool. Also, I gotta show off my X-Men that I got fairly recently. I actually got 2 X-Men recently. I'm very excited. This is a late birthday present. It's Nightcrawler. Oh man. The way I saw it was Hector Mire. Thank you, Hector, for encouraging my Funko addiction, as it is. Yeah, we need to figure that one out. I'm kidding. But like, I've been looking for this guy for a while. I'm so excited. So now I have Nightcrawler in my office, the big rep for what the heck should Faith look like. He's a constant reminder to me that I may look strange, but I am supposed to continue to show love, show support, and always show Jesus. Punk Nightcrawler, so good. Teaching me as I'm sitting here. The other one was Gambit. It was awesome, and I'll talk about that some other time. But X-Men, and I mentioned that I had read a few series of X-Men, but this one series that I really enjoyed, and we are talking about it, is X of Swords. If you have not checked it out, oh my goodness, sir, or madam, you need to read this series. It's fantastic. It's so well done. It's 22, like, look at that. 22. Woo! 22 comics that you got to read through. Or you can get like the big bundle edition, which is like this, and it's massive. It's also 81.35 Canadian. Whew, it's a lot. But I will say it is a fantastic read. Oh my goodness. I loved it. It was great. It brought some good questions, good character development, even just weird moments that were just like, yeah, okay, that's kind of different. And you're like, Wilson, you're being incredibly vague. I'm being intentionally vague. You should read this because I don't want to give a ton of spoilers. It's so good. And what really got me first into it was this, because I was expecting all of these people to have like swords. Turns out that was not true. Not all of them got swords. And I'm not going to tell you who did, but actually a good portion of these people in here did not get swords. Yeah, that kind of sucked. It's also kind of funny, but yeah, it kind of sucked. Man, I'm just letting y'all get into this. And all of a sudden I'm from southern states in talking how I'm talking. No, X of Swords is great because it follows up from House of X and Power of X, which, by the way, you should read that if you want to get any idea of what the heck is going on currently in the X-Men world of Marvel, what they've been kind of leading through it. Because I'm just gonna disclose some things. One thing, mutants were also capable of immortality in a way. I'm saying that very loosely. Again, you need to read these series. This is like Wilson's pull list, as Hector's crew would be saying. Like, what are they reading these days? It's just fantastic, and it all centers around this dude, Apocalypse, who is actually a good guy in this one. It's weird, and you get to see more of like his hidden agenda of like what he has done throughout all the time that he's been in X-Men comics. Why does he do what he does? It turns out he's in the hunt for these guys. These are his original Four Horsemen. But actually, the original Four Horsemen were not just like random Four Horsemen. They were actually his family. Awkward moment. So, like, that's a thing. So he's going to this other part, and it turns out that Krakoa, the island that the X-Men have deemed their nation, because now X-Men are no longer like, it's not just X-Men, it's all mutants, and you can all be accepted on Krakoa, and it's a different thing. Turns out there was another part to Krakoa that is lost to another world, and like it's Akakra or something like that, or Akakro. It's not Aarakocra because that's a D&D reference, and those of you who are into D&D, you're welcome. But like, turns out they were left there, and it's like a crazy like, survival of legit fittest, and like even Apocalypse lost his wife. So like, yeah, Apocalypse apparently had a wife named Genesis, which is interesting. And Genesis and Apocalypse, they're just like, so sorry, a lot of biblical fun referencing and stuff like that. And his whole purpose of he's opening gates on Krakoa to get to this other spot so that he can see his family, his grandson, this weird dude here. He says, we can find a gate, we can do this together, grandfather. And they do it, and it doesn't go well. Yeah, I'm just going to give you the down low on that. It's pretty brutal. It's pretty messed up. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of craziness. But the thing is, if you know what X of Swords, X of Swords actually represents 10 of Swords. 10 of Swords is a connection to a tarot card. I'm not saying you should go out and like get tarot cards. I'm not promoting tarot reading or anything like that by any means. Just letting that out there right now. Um, but they do add the tarot kind of cards as a different indicator throughout this comic series. It's really different. That's what I found was really interesting about this, because writers who are willing to take a little jab or like take a leap on things as far as like how you use outer material is just fantastic. And there's this other person in the series that you get to see who's like this high goddess kind of thing. Really, she's in charge of like an eternal realm. It's really weird. And I'm trying to find where she is. There she is. This weird person thing. I forget what her name is, but she essentially like has this weird vision, and she's doing it via tarot cards of what's going to be happening and it's unfolding. So essentially, she's fate weaving, kind of stuff like that. If you did Kingdom of Amalur, the whole idea of like, is there fate, is there destiny, and stuff like that. It was just really interesting. She's an odd character. She very much was a meddler in the series. Again, you need to read it. Here's another shot of her right there with the dragon, which is actually Jubilee's kid. That's kind of a cool thing. Yeah, Jubilee had a kid, and it's weird. And so throughout this whole series, you're following that there's going to be a battle of these X of Swords, the 10 swords that are going to be brought for fighting. And there's the Akokra fighters, and then there's our team of X-Men that are going to be fighting with their 10 swords. And so they each have fighting and stuff like that. Pestilence design in the comics is so cool and weird. Absolutely. Fantastic comic book art. I completely agree with that. I love the look and vibe. I love how they've represented that at different points by different people. It's really cool. I'm going off tangent. Anywho, it was just kind of cool to see different characters, how they were responding to this idea of fate, who is going to be pitted against each other, who is going to be fighting. And some of the battles were just fantastic. Yeah, I literally can't give you too much. But it does fall into place, but it falls into place differently. And it's particularly this one battle between Apocalypse and the head of the other X of Swords, that it's predicted that there's a destruction of some kind, a separation that would be happening. But the separation happens completely differently than what you would maybe anticipate. I don't know. I thought it was a cool twist. Again, I'm not throwing spoilers because I care about you guys, and I want you guys to get as addicted to this as much as possible. I'm kidding. To get in on this, because it's really good. Before the MCU ruins it. Yes, I hear you on that one. Sad story there, Solomon. We're holding on to, like, the X-Men have maybe a year. It's still going to be good. We'll see. Yeah. Anywho, we're going to see how it goes. But this is fantastic stuff. It's really good series. You need to pick it up. So the reason why I bring this up is the very idea of, like, fate. Because, you know, fate is an interesting thing. And we kind of talked about that a little bit in the past with, like, fate weavers, and, like, what is... Actually, I don't think we've done that here. We've talked about it. We talked about it back in one of my blog posts. You can actually check that out. And again, our blog posts are simply between the panels. Let me show you the actual blog. By the way, you should be checking out the Armor of God series that we've got going on. It's a really good read. But we do have one, and this is what's really cool. If you want to look and see what's something that might catch your attention, like oh, Fate Weaver. Wait, there is an article. Oh, wait, this is all talking about what does it mean to have a Fate Weaver? Who's determining your life and stuff like that. And even a good verse to sit on to think, process, and then a good question to follow through. Self-promoting, over. Sorry, done. No more of that. Yeah, thank you. But, like, this is an honest thing, because this whole series is all set for certain things to line up to, well, this is going to be your fate, this is how things are going to go. and you just need to anticipate that or just accept it. And one of the things, I will give a spoiler alert, there is a wedding. And that's actually one of the battles. It's really weird. But it's like the fated lovers, which is just like, huh? And it's to opposing ends, and they totally did get married. And I'll say the couple lives on Krakoa. That's all you get to know. You get, again, read it. It's crazy. But like these different things were setting apart. And what I loved was one of the people, and I will disclose who this one person who holds a sword is this dude Cypher. Can I see him here? Yeah, he's in the back. He's like way in the back. This dude. Better comic book cover of him. Oh, where was it? I literally just saw it a moment ago. It was really good. It was Excalibur, I think. This one. Yeah, this one. Cypher, who's like a combo 2 mutant, which is really weird, does not know how to fight with the sword. And so he's like horribly uncomfortable and not confident. Even Magic is teaching him how to fight. He's like I'm trying. I'm going as hard as I can. And Magic is like, you're doomed. I hope you get paired up with like the weakest person on the other side. And then they find out who he's paired with, and she's like, well, that was good. Okay, so we're going to lose that round. That's going to bite very hard. And so it's just, like, and this is all for the sake of keeping Krakoa and all mutants safe from, like, being overwhelmed by the other world. And that's where this battle of the swords comes down to as well, is like whoever wins, the winning team gets to conquer the area. It's like, oh man, Total Conquest. That's like nuts. It's like Mortal Kombat. Sorry, that was another nerding moment. Had to do it. But the real question is, guys, like, the real question is, how do you determine your fate? Because we like to ask that question a lot, right? There's a lot of things in your life that you can be just like kind of like, how do I know what's the right decision in front of me? How do I know where I'm supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? And reading the series, man, I was like, dude, at least they know. So, like, shut up and stop complaining. Like, you at least know what's the idea. Now, of course, some of them had very not so good fate for them, and that was written out for them. It's just like, oh, okay, maybe I wouldn't want to know that if it's bad. That's always the funny thing about, like, these fate things. Like, and that's where, like, soothsayers or, like, people who do readings and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, even as a dude who's following Jesus, like, stuff like that, it's still like, that's a territory I'm not too sure if I'd ever even really want to dive into. I always find it fascinating how they do it. Do I think there is an element to it that's spiritual? 100%. Yeah, I think there is definitely some elements to it, especially like, card reading or like, yeah, card readings like tarot or bone readings or Ouija boards. Like, that stuff is just like, I'll just say this, don't touch it. Just don't do it. Yeah, just don't do it. You don't know what you're doing, and even if you know what you're doing, there's bad stuff that comes on that other side. So it's like, no, there's a right way to go about things. You want to make sure whatever you are connecting or associating with is good stuff, and we've talked about that in the past. But that's not about this. The whole thing that we were talking about is fate, and the whole idea of like X of Swords was like designing a fate. This whole fate reading of like, what are you gonna do? Is your card really the determinant of who you are and what you're gonna do? And I really appreciated that series for that. It kind of drew that principle really well, that even in the decisions that they made and choosing to push back against some of that fate idea that they were given, they still in some ways fulfilled it, but they did it on their terms, which was kind of cool. And one verse that has been really coming at me recently, and I love Proverbs. You guys know I love Proverbs. I love sitting on wisdom. I think everyone should read Proverbs at least one or two times in their life, but really need to absorb it. And Proverbs 16, I'll show you guys here. Oh, sorry. Proverbs 16:33. Let me just bring it up for you. Man, scroll. There we go. Proverbs 16 verse 33 right here, guys. We may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall. Again, it's a verse out of context. Not trying to do that, right? Proverbs really has this wonderful idea of like, you're trying to determine your own things. You're trying to set your own path. And there is a path of wisdom, right? There's actions that you need to be setting forward for yourself. You need to be intentional with how you're doing things. And that's just life as well, right? Like that's how we are to live life, is live it with intention, live it with purpose. And that purpose can sometimes be like that reading that we are giving. That's like, this is where I think I'm supposed to be going. Or things just kind of fall into order in some things. I really do think there's things that God calls us to do. Because I don't see God as just a backseat God. I see God throughout the Bible, throughout different arcs of how we see him interact with key people. He's very involved. He's invested. He cares about what you're doing. He cares about each step that you're taking. But like ultimately it's your decision on what you do, and he's there along there with that. And I kind of appreciate this. We may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall, right? Like, that's hopeful and it's scary at the same time. That's if I can say that with a little bit of contradiction. Because we throw the dice is our effort, right? It's our push to like, oh man, I want to get this. I want to work it. I want to do this. This is how I'm going to do it. And like even the idea of loaded dice. One of my favorite scenes of Star Wars is when Qui-Gon, right? He's trying to get it so that he can free Annie and his mom. And he's going to be helping because he sees Annie has the Force with him. So like there's something different about this kid already. And the capacity for what he can do is like, yeah, there's something going on here. And we're going to keep on investing in doing that. And Watto's like, oh man, no, like roll to see about having either Anakin freed or Shmi, his mom, freed. And the whole idea that like, it's like, well, I want the boy. And Watto's like, well, we're going to figure this out. How this is going to go. Because you want the boy, but there's something about this boy then. Maybe I want him. So we'll let chance decide. He has a chance cube, and of course Watto throws it, and Qui-Gon does the cool, ooh, like you wave your hand like a Jedi waving around like that. You know, he's just like, what do you think you are, some kind of Jedi? I love it. It's so funny. It's good humor. George, I miss your writing. But like, that's what he does, right? He sets, no, we're gonna free the boy. There's something about this boy. There's something different, and I think we're supposed to be doing this. I think this is the whole reason why we're here. Solomon, I appreciate your comment. Solomon threw down, God would be both a great and terrifying dungeon master in D&D. I hate to throw this at you, Solomon, but I really think he's the dungeon master, period. Like, biblically standing, that's where I see that he is legit an amazing D&D like master, because really he created the first D&D, which is, hi, this is life. We are all players in this thing called life. We are all interacting with it, and there are some things that God puts in us that will help us grow and develop, and there are some things that he sets to a bigger plan that he's got going on. You see that all throughout Daniel. You see that on like how there's spiritual beings that are literally involved here. Like we may as well just hop on. Because, like, you guys are here. You guys are like, what are you talking about, Mike? This is what I'm here for. So, you're welcome, and let's join in on the journey. Buckle up. Where is it? I believe... Is this one? No, it's not. Not that vision. Where is it? Vision explained. Okay, the goat's ram thingy majigger. I heard a human. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to remember where specifically it was. Because there's like legit a conversation that happens with Daniel. Ah, come on. Okay, let me Michael fighting the... I know it's in Daniel. Sorry. Daniel 10. I was seriously one chapter off. Oh, I'm so sorry. Ugh, my goodness. Okay. Daniel 10, verse 13. Man, I am sweating. I don't know why. So, there's an angel that's, like, talking, and it's Gabriel. Gabriel has been, like, the main dude that's been, like, chatting with Daniel throughout this time. Yeah, I see you laughing, Solomon. I see you laughing. It's pain. It's annoying, because, like, I used to have this, like, off the top of my head. Now it's like, oh, I'm old. Here's the thing. Then he said, don't be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day you began to pray for understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your request has been heard in heaven. Oh, so observation of prayer. Cool. I have come in to answer your prayer. But for 21 days, the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia, ooh, so there's a bad dude, blocked my way. Then Michael, one of the archangels, came to help me, and I left him there with the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia. Now I'm here to explain what will happen to your people in the future, for this vision concerns a time yet to come. So, like, the whole thing about this is, like, the conduct of, like, there's things that are enacting, right? Like, God is sending certain things. There's confrontations and different levels that are happening, and God is orchestrating that and helping move things. And you actually even see that at the beginning of Daniel in talking about Nebuchadnezzar, this great king who literally conquered a ton of the known world, and because he got so focused on himself and didn't honestly give praise to God, all of a sudden he goes mad like a beast for like years. And then God says at the end of the time, you will all of a sudden come to your senses and you will realize how amazing God is. And you will give him glory. And everything will be restored again. And it's just like, what? Like, that happened. And it's just nuts. Like, it's really weird. But, like, the spiritual nature of, like, God will set divine things to happen if you are willing to do this. Or if you aren't, that's how it goes. And, right, like, we read that all in the Old Testament with the exile thing. It's because of that understanding of, like, what are we supposed to be doing? And working with God, that we have a plan, that he has a plan. But we also need to be following along with it. We need to be partners with it. And so God can guide certain nations to do certain things, like redirect steps, stuff like that, so that they serve his purpose. And it's really weird because he's using other nations who don't know God, but yet God guides them. And it's like, what? And it's stuff like this where reading about spiritual principalities, governments, and stuff like that are overseen. And we've talked about that in spiritual warfare and stuff like that. But again, the supremacy of God is just nuts. That's why, like, reading we may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall. It makes a little bit more sense, right? So then, like, what do we do, right? Because if God's just going to set my pace, like, what do I do? How do I do this? Especially if you're following as a Christian, right? You want to make sure you're going on the right path. And this is something that me and my wife have gone on and off at different points on in discussion. Like, what does that look like? What does it mean to hear from God? Where do we get confirmation and stuff like that? And this is where I'll give you honest advice. Find people that are connected with God, so like actually praying and actually invested, taking that time with God, and know how to listen for God, and that will be shown in like how they have followed things and like what has God done with that in the following of that, right? Like, God will sustain. God will provide clarity and direction in all of that. But then the other part of that is like having them share the situation, praying, hearing what they have to say. But also, like, me and Coach, we do that in our decisions. We talk about something, but we also are praying about it. And there's a decision that we're processing even right now that we are praying and working through. And it's kind of like going back and forth and having that conversation. Hey, like, so anything that's been hitting you a lot recently, like any key verse that's been going on. And I like, this has been the verse, Proverbs 16:33, where I just feel like God's the one who sets paths. God's the one who gives clarity. And it's just really interesting, right? Because like God has a plan. He works with it. And there's a verse in James. Now I have to make sure I know this one, because if I don't know this one, y'all just can laugh at me and be like, Wilson, I think you need to go back to Bible college. I'm just saying. It's okay. I get it. I'm old. That's just how it goes. Wilson just gets older, and stuff like that. Being willing to yield. There's specifically a verse in James that is talking about the idea of like when we are talking about time frame. No, it's not the power of prayer. Watch. I'm going to be like so... Please bear with me, guys. I appreciate you guys just working with me and being patient all throughout this. You also kind of don't have a choice, but I still really appreciate it. Faithful endurance, that's great. Okay. Anywho, there's a verse that talks about... You know what? We'll just do it. Do this tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Again. Guys, I'm losing my touch here. This is horrible. I literally went past it. Boasting about tomorrow. Wow. Okay. Don't mind me. Can we do NLT? Because I like NLT. Search. Warring self-confidence. Doi! Oh my goodness. Solomon, I see you laughing. I get it. Wilson's just dropping here. This is what happens when my brain just goes everywhere. So this is it. James 4, verses 13 to 15. Look here, you who say today or tomorrow we are going to a certain town and will stay there a year. We will do business there and make a profit. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while, then it's gone. What you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to, we will live and do this or that. And I've had a little bit of pushback on that. I think it's not wrong to make plans. Like, I've got plans to go to my nephew's wedding. That's happening the same day as my daughter's birthday. Hoorah, awesomeness. First Wilson grandkid wedding. Oh my gosh, I feel old. That's a thing. But, like, again, I'm looking to that because I set that as a plan. Do I think it's going to happen? Likely. Now, if God decides to show up in between then, like, who am I going to be like, whoa, 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 God, hold up. I got a schedule here. And my nephew, he's getting married. So, like, put a pause. Wait till those two youngins get married, and like then we can figure out the details. No, like what's that gonna do? And right, like I don't know if I'm gonna get hit by a bus tomorrow, or like that sounds really grim. Um, that sounds really grim. Or if I like die, right? Like the very idea that our life is vapor, and you see that in Ecclesiastes that life is meaningless. Life is vapor. It is just like it's not meaningless. It's just short and incohesive. You just don't know what to really peg it down with or work with. Like it's just a thing. So like it's not guaranteed. And so what James here is throwing down is the whole concept. We're going to look at the whole passage so that we can get it, right? The self-confidence here. Otherwise you're boasting about your own pretentious plans, and all such boasting is evil. So it's kind of like, oh, look at all this. Look, I'm so busy. It's even like just like, look, I've done all this effort. I've done all this kind of thing, right? And that's the whole premise of that self-confidence. But again, you see that here. We may throw the dice. We might be able to go, yo, I rolled that. I set that standard. I made that a thing. That works. That's because of me. And it's like, yeah, but God sets how that goes. Like, you can do it and look and lean and trust and rely on. Just like Daniel, he's praying, he's throwing down, and he's not getting answers immediately. And this is, again, for 21 days, Gabriel was held back from this prince from Persia, and Michael, one of the archangels, came to help me. Like, there's stuff going on that you don't know. There's like a whole other level of thing. And so this is where it comes into fate, where maybe we need to be more open like this, because it actually keeps us humble. And that sounds really weird, but like, yeah, maybe it keeps us humble. Maybe it keeps us working and be like, yo, like, yeah, I need to work this down. I need to work this out. So the Lord wants us to. We will live and do this or that. Like giving it to God, and each day giving it and being like, God, and I've appreciated this in like my daily work on meditation time with God and taking that time. Part of that meditation time is legitimately going, God, I want you to interrupt my day. That's a weird thing to say. Like when you got plans and you got things to go and things to do, saying, God, I want you to interrupt my day, because ultimately what you want to do is way more important than what I want to do. It's kind of a different vibe. It's a different kind of thing. And so, like, how do we do that? Well, that means we are intentionally looking for that. We are testing out what the Spirit says. We are going with this. And I appreciated Paul in reading through Acts, and I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. One of the things I've really appreciated in reading through Acts was a reminder that anywhere where Paul and Silas or Paul and Barnabas were going, they were praying to the Spirit every time, is this where we're supposed to be going? They were following the Spirit's leading. And there were a few times where the Spirit said, nope, not going there. You don't do that. You're going to go over here. You're going to go to this town. You're going to do this thing. And so then to go back to X of Swords, right? Like, go back to that concept of, like, we have fate weavers, we have destinies that are being set. And I feel, honestly, if God has given you something and you've tested it out, you've honestly been asking for counsel, asking, like, other people who are in faith, who are in communication with God, and have solid faith, and asking for confirmation and stuff like that, there are people that you should be doing that with. And if they affirm what's being said and really seeing that, that God has something for you to do, has a purpose, has a drive. And I appreciate that it's typically like a bigger thing. It's not always like every single moment God's going to send you a little like tweet, look to your right, tweet, look to your left. Like it's not stuff like that, but it's stuff like, hey, you notice this person to the side. Maybe maybe get them a coffee. Maybe sit down and just ask how they're doing. And like not just ask how they're doing, but how can you help them? Because that's a whole other leap, not just on how they're doing, but how you can help. Dang. Like that's a step saying I want to be interactive with you and help you. I want to invest in you. Like that's taking a moment. And like those are really cool moments when you allow yourself to do it. And I think we need to be in better step and practice on that, right? We're not just looking for random signs, kind of things like that, but honestly just hearing God. And again, the Holy Spirit is in partner with us, that we don't need special cards or a random weird cloaked white lady thingy to like read something and go, well, this is what's going to happen. Ooh. It's like, no, I'm going to sit with God, who doesn't look at this as like whole mystical. Ooh. It's like he's got a plan, he's got a purpose, he's got an intention for it. The thing that is harder is for us to go, how are we willing to commit and work with that? Are we willing to submit to listen to that voice, that when we roll the die and God starts determining how we fall, are we willing to accept that? That's the thing I think we need to realize and work through. And that's what like X of Swords really kind of remind me, is like there's been some promises I've felt in my life and had prayed into my life, and some of them I'm still waiting on and seeing. But what am I doing in that? Am I waiting and just be like, well, you better like give it? It's like, am I asking God in that? How can I be taking a step further into what I see you are putting ahead of me? How can I continue to just look for you right now, today? How can I be willing to step out of my comfort zone to follow into your zone and where you're at? Because, man, that's so important. That's it's so important to do. So instead of trying to find other things, or like being like only to other people, hey, so like what has God told you about me? It's like, no, like talk to the guy who's in charge, which is God. Ask for wisdom, and he says he will give it to you. He's more than willing to do it. But I love how in James, and it does say this in James, so I am saying that, how it says in James that when we receive the wisdom, we need to do something with it. Because otherwise, if we let our thoughts be casted around side to side, okay, I just got to do it because this is going to bother me. That I'm trying to read that for you. It's right here, James 1, verse 5. 5 to 8. And Solomon, I'll read yours. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. But when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is as unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they are unstable in everything they do. Guys, this has been a big call out for me in the past few years. I keep asking God for wisdom, and maybe he has been throwing it in certain thoughts I've had and working that through and processing it. And maybe I've just been thrown around. I'm like, yeah, but like this is important. But this is important. And like you kind of feel like Peter in the water again, right? Peter just needed to look at Jesus, and he could have kept on walking in the water. That's the nuts part about that, right? But we need to trust in it. And so again, it shouldn't be any surprise sometimes when we feel like, God, I haven't been getting anything from you. He's like, yeah, but like, dude, you're not even just taking what I have been giving at you at like base level. Like, you're asking. I'm willing to give. You need to take it though. When you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Trust that when God is giving, like, you're asking God for something, for clarity, for understanding, for wisdom, which, again, he's willing to give that. Just nuts. But don't let it be that you're divided. Solomon, you threw down a quote, and I gotta read it. God who is eternally complete, who directs the stars, who is the master of fates, who elevates man from his lowliness to himself, who speaks from the cosmos to every single human soul, is the most brilliant manifestation of the goal of perfection. Ooh, Alfred Adler. Ooh. Solomon, that's heavy. I love it. Oh my goodness, that's some good steak to chew. Guys, yeah, I'm going to reread that for you guys to hear this again. Actually, hold on. I'm going to copy because I cheat that way. So I'm sorry, Solomon. I'm somewhat cheating. Let's try paste. Let's try that. Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. Hey, that kind of works. Yeah, there we go. No, go back. Sure, okay. So again, this is for you guys to see. So if you need to screenshot this, you need to, like, capture this. This is a good one. Ooh, good stuff. God who is eternally complete, who directs the stars, who is the master of fates, who elevates man from his lowliness to himself, who speaks from the cosmos to every single human soul, is the most brilliant manifestation of the goal of perfection. Solomon, good word. Good insight. I like that one. That was a good quote. Dang. So I'll say this, guys. That's your level of challenge. How are you standing in stride with God? How are you working in this with God? How are you trusting with God in the fate? And how are you stepping and showing that? Because that's a weird thing. Because, like, again, some people are so hardcore into, like, all these soothsayer kind of stuff like that they will just, like, botch their day because someone said, oh, well, don't do this. And they'll do that. What if God said that to you? What if God said something like that to you? Would you be willing to change everything for the sake of what he said? Are you willing to sit with him and honestly give him your day and just be like, God, I can only do what I do today. You've given me today. What can I do? And how can I not worry about certain things? There are things that you should be thinking about, like, you know, just how you're going to be maintaining. But even then, I love how Jesus says, like, dude, even, like, the sparrows don't know what they're going to eat for the next day, but God still takes care of them. They're just sparrows. How are you trusting in God in your fate? Because we can roll the die, but God's the one that sets it. Again, Proverbs. It's a good quote. How are you trusting and relying on that? And that's a big ask. That's a big push. That's a big challenge. But are you asking for wisdom? And when you're asking for wisdom, are you looking for God to give you that wisdom? And when he does, if it's comfy or not, are you going to step out on that? Are you going to trust in that wisdom that he's given you? Because if not, you're just being tossed around on your thoughts, his thoughts, your thoughts, his thoughts, and you just don't know where to go, what to do, and it's like you're not going to get anywhere. You're just a boat being tossed around. Ask God. Not in a fate weaver thing, but just an openness to go, God, I'm looking for your voice. I'm not looking for a card. I'm looking just for your voice. I need help. I need direction. I need clarity. He's a generous God. He loves you. So, hey, I'm going overtime. I'm going to pray. God, I thank you. I thank you that you're such a big God, that you are overall, and that sounds really weird and can sound really messed up, and like, how do we have choice? We still have choice. We still have opportunity to follow you. But you do have a big plan. You do have a big purpose for us. And your heart is wanting to work with us. Help us to work with you. Help us to sit and just to listen to you. The person who knows us better than we know ourselves, knows us intimately and sees us and where we are at. And not that you're just a big puppet master, because God, you want to help and guide us, but you will let us go to our own ways. You will allow that to happen. I pray that we just wouldn't do that we would just come to you saying, yo, God, I need help. I need guidance. I need encouragement. I need support. I need peace of mind. I need rest. I need to know I'm not alone. I need to know that I'm seen. I need to know that I'm cared, that I have a purpose, that I have something to do, that I'm here for a reason. So God, help us in that. Maybe that's what different people are praying or feeling or stuff like that. But help us in that, and help us in working in that. And give that to you, honestly, God, because we want to see you. Just help us to step in faith with you. And when we ask, we just step out. We ask this in your name. Amen. Whew. Axe of Swords. Guys, you need to read it. Like, again, it's just such a good series. If you're not reading it, you just read it. It's awesome. It's Apocalypse as a good guy. That's, again, never expected that. It's so good. So intense. Like, look at this. Look at the comic art. This actually was really cool. I love this kind of look. Wolverine was just so interesting in that series too. Yes, spoiler alert, Wolverine's one of the dudes that gets a sword. It's kind of nuts. This was also a fantastic cover. Oh my. Oh. You need to read it. It's fantastic. It's really cool. It's very different. Yeah. Guys, I hope you have an awesome time. Have an awesome weekend. We should be back to our regular programming schedule. And yeah, please be keeping prayers for our crew as we are doing our gamer camp next week. And like, we got 16 people. 16 people. Woo! That's a lot of peeps. Jumping up and getting in on what we are doing. So help us in that. Pray for controllers and pray for other consoles to be supplied so that we can do a lot of things together and have a good time. Yeah, and let us know. Join the Discord. Have a good time. Get into the nerdum. Hang out with cool peeps like Solomon and nerd out with them. And us and others. Have a good one, guys. Peace out.